people? And if you're watching live, checking us out on YouTube, or listening on your favorite podcast provider, you are most definitely my people. Welcome to another episode of Botched, and Share Shots. We still have high hopes of delivering quality wrestling content, and if not, we'll sprinkle in a new network and a couple new shows. So we still get over. I'm your host, Chef by Trade, no Mark by Choice. I am the Will Gray, and I'm glad to be here on this journey. And tonight, that journey is... Excuse me, ma'am. Can I speak to your manager, please? Joining me tonight is the Yellow Shoe Guy, and he comes with his own disclaimer, and that is, the opinions of the Yellow Shoe Guy are his and his alone, and do not reflect those of Botched, and Share Shots or the Rivet City Radio Podcast Network. Bobby, how are you?
Oh my God, I could not be any better. The news just broke on Twitter. I have been bought. I have been sold to Saudi Arabia for the grand total of $3 and a co-host to be named in the future. I'm so excited. I'm learning the language. I'm scribbling. I'm drawing. I am pumped. I'm
really excited for you, Bobby. I'm glad you're here. I'm really glad for that. I feel like I went for the highest bid. I put it to market. NBC Universal was in the mix. Disney was in the mix. I just feel like, this was the direction that I felt like the brand needed to go. So I hope you're ready to roll, Bobby Mack. I hope you're good to go.
I am, and Bama's already saying that they overpaid.
They did overpay, but
absolutely.
And joining us, perched upon her iron throne in the boss bitch's corner, she is the Hova to my Beyonce. She's the Bonnie to my Clyde. She is the boss bitch, Miss Allison Siegel. Allison, how are you?
I'm great.
Excellent. Well, we have I said it. I said we were going to have a new coat of paint, and by golly, I wasn't wrong. So, guys, well, I think that we should start tonight with the same question I always ask you, really. Bobby, what has you pissed off for greatness tonight in the world of professional wrestling?
Man, I hate that people can't say their opinions on some social media networks, and they just get banned instantly. Like, I don't like being bullied, so I am all for people not bullying other people on other social medias. So I do appreciate that the talk is looking out for me, but at the same time, dude, the talk has got to put on a pair of pants and not be just so like wimpy about this. Like, come on, man.
I'm angry with you for whatever you did last night, because we were just cruising. We were an hour into a conversation. We're doing one of our TikTok lives. We're chatting about everything, Vince McMahon and everything that's going on, getting ready for tonight, hyping this show up. And bam, I get hit for a rules and guidelines violation for, bullying. So thanks for that. I blame you for that. That's your fault.
I taught you well.
You did teach me well. Wrestle Talk definitely. You have to get your first one. So I got it out of the way. I'll be back Friday night. Everything is good. So, Allison, what has you pissed off for greatness tonight in the world of professional wrestling?
So, I have decided that what has me pissed off is whatever this crap they're doing to the Street Profits is. Like, I feel like they can go their separate ways without making it like some weird, hateful situation. I don't know. It's just bizarre to me. Like, they're gradually making Montez look like he doesn't give a shit. And it's weird and awkward. And I don't really like it.
I would say go back to 1991 and watch Marty and Sean. Because they're setting up the same story. They're setting up the same story.
Something about a barbershop window?
Yeah, where Marty tried to run away from Sean and dove through the glass.
He was so scared of what was happening that he just had to get away from Sean. He just had to get out.
Very true.
But how long did that take? Like, how long of a period did they build up, like, them turning on each other? I feel like this has been going on for months.
I think it was about 3 months. It was about a quarter.
Well, they have to build the story. If they didn't build a story, then the IWC would, piss the bed and be angry and, oh no, they didn't tell us a story. But now they're like, I don't like it. So, I mean, I see it coming. Montez is a bona fide star. Not to say that Dawkins isn't. But
you think Montez will be the Sean?
Montez is 100% a Sean, but not to say Angelo Dawkins is Marty Jannetty, though. That's my point. That's the most important thing I'm saying. He's going to super kick him into a huge solo cup and then fill it with cement. Book it. Book
Wow,
it.
that's
what Ben
combining
has
a
to
lot
say.
of angles right there.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go, okay? And I'm just going to say my piece, and then I'm going to leave it alone, and I won't bring it up again. I may be young in the world of journalism. I may have gotten my degree 13 years ago, and it may be for a fucking concentration that doesn't even exist anymore because I'm that old, okay? One thing stands true, and I'm quoting CM Punk here. If you fancy yourself a journalism, even in the silly world of professional wrestling here, okay? Have some fucking integrity. They teach you day one of journalism school. Seek the truth and report it. Take responsibility for your work and its accuracy, which is the most important thing. Verify information before reporting. I looked up textbooks from when I was in school just to verify that I still remembered all this stuff the way it should be. Although reporting news is a race, remember that speed nor format excuses inaccuracies, okay? So what happened 2 nights ago when a few hotheads on Twitter started a wildfire and then hid behind their sources and the rumors that they started, that they reported, and then all they did was just say we were speculating. This doesn't take away from the fact that these guys fucking knew better. If you weren't 100% sure what was going on, don't report it. It's simple as that. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
You said a bad word.
I said a few bad words.
There's an E.
I do. I did. I made sure that we clicked the E. Partially for you, Bobby, because I didn't really know what we're going to say.
It wasn't on me.
That was the 3 of us, so we're going to send it up to the Boss Bitches Corner for news and rumors. So, Miss Siegel, let's get to it. What you got tonight?
I only have a few because I figured we'd spend most of the time focusing on Vince and the sale or the not sale and that whole crazy debacle. That's the only word I can call it right now. So the first thing, in a not surprise course of events, the Elite win the Trios title. Are we shocked? Absolutely not. Or is this as predictable as Cody winning the TNT title originally?
This is, I'm shocked when I see people on any social media. It's like, oh my gosh, this is the way you do a series and blah, blah, blah. This was the most predictable end of this series ever. Like, this was the most predictable best of 7. It's one of the worst best of 7 because no matter if you like one of the matches or not, you knew what the outcome was going to be. The story wasn't there. I'm not even going old school and talking about Magnum and Magnum and Nikita. You can look at Benoit and Booker T. They had a much better best of 7. It wasn't every single week in your face. Kenny Omega, I think this past 2 weeks, Kenny Omega has just proved exactly what a scumbag he is and how much, if people want to say, and here's my first mention of him, Hulk Hogan, it ain't good for me, brother. Kenny Omega, bro, he's bringing it to a whole new level.
I think that it was way more predictable than Cody Rhodes winning the TNT title. I'm still panicking at all these new production things I have to do. I added all these bells and whistles and then didn't do a dry run on how to do any of them. So now I'm like, oh God, can I keep up with it all? I'm fine. I got this, guys. I think
Marie's
it was super. Do what?
Maria's liking my take. Marie Shadows is liking my take.
Marie and Bobby. I like Marie and Bobby. I think you guys that's such a random duo. It's like yin and yang if it was turned up to 11. So it's the perfect wrestling analogy because you and Marie on paper shouldn't like each other at all. Y'all are on opposite ends of the spectrum and for some reason y'all are so cool. I love that. Back to the topic at hand, which are the trios titles. I feel like it was far more predictable this go around than the TNT title was with Cody. I feel like, however, that the 6 men in this match, and I'm going to take a big gulp of humble pie and accept for what I'm about to say because I can't believe what I'm going to do with my words right now. And that is Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks showed us in these 7 matches that they can carry a program and tell a consistent story.
Only if the consistent story is putting themselves over. And the only way the other guys can win is by cheating.
I'm not fired. I don't even know if Ritter's still here or not. You can't fire me on the first day. But I mean, you have to give me this. One, Kenny Omega looked like a bona fide fucking rock star with that IWGP title. Like, he looked like a rock star.
I mean, he's on the belt.
No, not the trios title, the IWGP title.
Oh.
Like, David Hasselhoff is a rock star. So you got to qualify the what kind of rock star? Is he Mick Jagger or is he Hasselhoff?
Thanks, Katie. You can always get fired on your first day.
You can get fired on your day off.
How'd you get fired on your day off?
Ask Mandy Rose.
Ask Mandy. Oh, that's topical humor there. I like that.
And the research continues.
Yeah, research. I'll give Will props for that opinion. They
know
how to carry a story
new network.
Yeah,
new network, new budget. Don't forget, Allison. You gotta send me that. You gotta send me that budget money so I can keep doing this research.
Do our research on this budget money?
No, I don't think so.
That's not gonna make it. That doesn't work for me, brother.
So here's the deal. I don't deny that Kenny Omega is a talented wrestler. It still doesn't make me like him for other reasons. But alas. I'll give him his roses. It was a good match. Yada yada. Still can't stand him.
Do you watch the Ospreay match though?
Yes.
Right? You liked the Ospreay match.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. See?
Again, I don't deny his skills. But his skills have nothing to do with my like or dislike of him.
Fair enough. I won't ask. We won't have to dive into that tonight. We've got an episode coming up in February for the dark side of botch spots, so that might be a good night for that conversation. What's next on your list, Ms. Siegel?
Let's see. Mickie James and Jordynne Grace, title versus career, hard to kill. Bobby, have you ever watched Jordynne Grace wrestle?
No, I've never lost a bet that big. I have watched Mickie James though many a time.
Katie says she's like me with Charlotte. Like, I will never deny her ability, just not a fan. I respect that. That's a good take, Katie. I can see that with the way Allison is with Kenny. No, Will, they proved they can put on a 7 consecutive car crashes where the rules don't matter, the moves don't matter, and the EVPs flaunt their power because they lost the titles due to suspension.
What is going on with the chat tonight, man? They're all going against the bully, the Will Gray, and siding with the yellow shoe guy. Nice.
I feel we slapped a new coat of paint on the show, and all of a sudden Bobby's the face and the Will Gray's the heel. Hold on a second.
This is great. No. I'm going to send you some of these teas. Okay. Oh, God.
There. If I'm going to be a heel, we'll do it right. There we go. What was the question?
Not only has he changed the answer, but he wants to change the question.
Jordynne Grace.
Bobby, have you ever seen Jordynne Grace wrestle a match?
No, I don't even think I've seen Jordynne Grace's picture, so I'm going to pull it up right now.
Oh.
You're going to love what you see. She's a fantastic worker. She's a hell of an ability. She's got some questionable hot takes when it comes to wrestling. She said some not nice things.
Then I like her already.
Well, maybe not.
Well, once again, we'll save that one for the Dark Side episode.
She's built.
Jordynne Grace could bench press Bobby. She's married to Jonathan Gresham. The thing to remember about that was she had my women's match of the year in 2022 with Masha Slamovich at Bound for Glory.
Who's she married to?
Jonathan Gresham, the former Ring of Honor champion.
Oh, okay.
She's the Impact Knocked Champions. Career versus title. I feel like Mickie is going to give Jordynne the rub. Bobby, calm down. That's not what I'm talking about. She's going to put Jordynne over the way it needs to be. She'll retire in Impact. She'll leave. Her and Nick have some big stuff in the works in 2023. So I'm not exactly sure what that means for where she'll be landing.
She was a tag team with Tessa?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would pay to see that for the comedy. Oh, that's you. I'm reading your... Sorry.
What?
Supposedly that match will main event the pay-per-view too. It will. It's tomorrow night, I think, or Saturday night.
Hey, Katie.
Why'd you say?
Don't worry. I'll stay. I'll stay heel with Katie. Guaranteed.
I don't think that'll be a problem, Bobby. So Bobby doesn't know who Jordan Grace is, and I think she might be the best women's wrestler in wrestling right now, not named Charlotte Flair.
Sunday.
Is there a better name for a company to have a pay-per-view than Hard to Kill for Impact Wrestling? Because it's been on its deathbed for like 20 years, and they just can't kill this thing.
You can't talk bad about Impact Wrestling in this house, Bobby Mack. You know Allison and I are big fans. Impact Wrestling has the best women's division in pro wrestling right now with the Knockouts. No, Bobby. No.
Any inside news from where you guys are on Lisa Marie Presley this evening?
On what?
Lisa Marie Presley,
What about
Elvis's
her?
daughter.
I know who
She was
that is.
rushed to the hospital for a full cardiac arrest today.
What hospital?
Yeah, what hospital?
I assume somewhere in Tennessee.
You know, it's a big state.
Is it?
The 11th largest state in the union.
Oh, then how is Will? What are you? You're banned in what? 23 counties?
I don't know what that joke is supposed to imply there, my friend. I'm not
I know
a fan
Sevier
of Jordan
County.
Grace.
No, they
What?
don't want you back in Sevier County.
Oh, I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed in Sevier County. I'm not allowed in Knox County. That's for sure. You're fair. Fair enough. That's 2. I don't know about the 25 or whatever you said, but I'm definitely not allowed in those 2.
Bro, it's pro wrestling, man. You gotta sell it.
Okay. Miss Eagle, you got something else for us?
Well, Bama had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this the last rodeo for Mickey in Impact only or in complete end of career? I thought she might want to finish her career with her husband in WWE. Do you want to tee off with that, Bobby? Or do you want me to?
No, I think that I think Mickey's got a lot of respect for Impact, and they've done a lot for her. And unlike Ric Flair, I'm not sure that Mickey's going to go for the big payday of the WWE. Of course, she's going to go for their Hall of Fame induction. But I think if she finishes Impact and she gives them her word that's her last match, then it'll be her last match.
Allison, what you on over there? I see what's in the chat. Did you just confirm it?
Yes.
Live on air right now. Read the headline for us.
Wow.
Lisa Marie Presley, Elvis and Priscilla's only child, dead at 54.
So not in cardiac arrest. She is. She has passed. Did
Man,
that just
that's
happen, or
it says 44 minutes ago on People.
About 30 minutes ago.
okay? So it happened right before we went on air. Then, so you're saying, Bobby, you heard earlier in the day she had cardiac arrest and had gotten shipped to the hospital, and we find out just now, as of 30 minutes ago, that she's passed.
Yep.
That's
Breaking
sad.
news. You hear it here first on our first night on our new network. Breaking national news. Lisa Marie Presley, the only child of Elvis, has passed away.
Not the only child of Elvis, just the only child with his first wife.
No, I think it's his only child.
Allison, verify that.
Why do I know more about Elvis than you do?
Because you're old.
Because you're old.
You're from Tennessee, bro.
Memphis is really far.
Yeah. That should be his only child. Okay, Marie, I'll believe it if it comes from
There you
Marie.
go, Marie.
Way
Man,
to
look at this.
go.
Why are you guys... Okay, so now the entire... Now, Bama, Marie, Katie, now everybody's coming down because of Lisa Marie. Listen, she's rejoined her dad and Michael at the pearly gates.
The pearly gates. You got anything else for us before we deep
bring it
dive
back up.
into the
Yeah.
shit show?
Seth is injured, but not too injured for the Rumble, but too injured for Contact on Monday. This is the same knee he injured and needed surgery on earlier in his career. Anyone have anything in regards to Seth and his shaky knees?
I think that this is a shoot that got turned into a work because you and I were there. Mm-hmm. You have the video footage. I'm going to post it on the botchedbotsandchairshots.com and write it up tomorrow because I think you can see in the match footage that he obviously tweaked it or heard it in some way. On Monday night, they turned it into the I'm not 100% tonight, but I will be by the Rumble thing. And I think they're not telling us everything. Because if you watch him work in the match and then you watch him get around, he's walking around like his knee's not 100%. I don't think they're telling us everything. Bobby,
Yeah, I think they're playing it up. I think when that video got out, they were able to play it up a lot. Like one, they were blaming the referee at the live event for not calling the X. And I think because Seth was so animated for that WWE's done a good job by carrying the story on and, again, like you said, making it a bigger deal than what it actually is.
I mean, you can see him, like, the ref after every move. You can see the ref going to him and, like, you can watch him say, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And, when he did a frog splash on one leg, he did not put any weight on that leg for the rest of the match. And even, like, if it was a work, like, you would think at least jumping off of that top rope, he would have attempted to use both feet. It was not done with both feet. And every time he hit that knee, you could see the physical pain in his face.
Yeah, so either he did probably the best job he's ever done selling, or he is legitimately hurt.
Get out of here with that whole Seth Rollins doesn't sell nonsense. I'm going to get banned on TikTok for bullying you. He's one of the best workers in the business right now, dude. He sells better than anybody in WWE. You can't honestly think Seth Rollins doesn't sell.
No, I think he does a good job. I didn't say anything about him not selling. I just said this was his best sell job ever, if it was a sell.
Speaking of sell jobs, you see what I did there? That's called a segue in the biz.
It's clever. Taking over.
While you get ready, they're doing all they can to ensure this babyface turn clicks in fully. Getting sympathy for an injury only helps. This also makes me think that he and Cody probably won't have a fourth match. I was hoping they wouldn't have a fourth match. I don't think either of them need it. I don't think they need a fourth match. Do you think they need a fourth match, Bobby, Cody, and Seth?
No. Do you think that they end up putting them together, though, and letting Cody or Seth get a rub off the other one? Hey, you know what? We were bitter enemies. Now we're going to be the best of friends to destroy Roman Reigns and in this title reign. And, Seth has that heritage with Dusty as, his coach at NXT for talking. Do they become friends?
Maybe.
I could see that being the case. I don't know if they'll work together as a tag team, but I could definitely see them as being allies at least.
Yeah, the enemy of my enemy is my... I don't know how that goes. I knew the first part.
Look at you. Even Bama said not bad, Bobby. Man, you're getting that shine.
Face
The
turn.
enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Botch Spots and Chair Shots had a double turn tonight, and we didn't even realize it was going to happen. This is a worked shoot, ladies and gentlemen.
Lord. All right. Well, as we get to it's not the meat and potatoes, because this is definitely not what this episode is about. But we're gonna call this the
Let's be
appetizer.
honest. This is what this episode is gonna be about.
Right.
We're gonna
call this the appetizer. Vince McMahon has shanghaied the company and says, "I'm the captain now, bitches. Where are the two of you at with everything involving the WWE sell or not sell saga?"
You want me to go first?
Yeah, jump in there.
Yeah, I'm reading reports now that Stephanie and Triple H were both against the sale. That's why Stephanie so quickly dropped out, which leads me to believe that Triple H is going to be pretty close behind on that. I think the only reason why Triple H wouldn't drop out as quick as Steph did is his dedication to, his brethren, his family of pro wrestlers. So I think he's trying to exit quietly for that. Vince owns the company. It's his right. It's his right since 1983 when he negotiated it from his father. He's built this up. We talked about it last night on TikTok before Will got banned for bullying me. We talked about, what Vince has done and what his legacy's been for pro wrestling. And, at this point in time, the guy's in his 70s. He's ready to retire or maybe not. But you know what? Good for him, man. He bought a company for $1 million and he's getting ready to sell it for upwards of $10 billion. Like we talked about last night on TikTok, it's not like Trump inheriting something from his dad that he just continued the money for. It's not like the Bush family, and I'm not attacking Republicans. It's not like, all these people, the Kennedys, that inherited this stuff. This is a guy that started off in a trailer park, met his dad later in life, bought his company, and has turned it into the largest company in the world that's getting ready to be bought, or largest company in sports entertainment that's getting ready to be bought by Disney for more than double the amount that they paid for Marvel or Star Wars.
Okay. My situation is, I feel like I've spoken ad nauseum about this, and I haven't. We're just on our show now. Like, we're just doing our show, and I feel like I've spoken about this ad nauseum.
Yeah, but you're getting banned, so nobody hears it.
Oh, shut up, Bobby. No, Bobby. No. When I made the stupid TikTok video on the first, I said, what if Vince gets tired, blah, 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 and he comes back and makes everybody, he's like, F it, we're going to sell the company. I then said that he could get the 81% that he owns and he could strong arm his way into a sell because he has the voting rights. And I wish I wasn't correct, because it looks like what's going to end up happening is Vince is going to sell to the highest bidder, not for anything else other than he wants to make the money. He wants to have the largest sell in American history. He wants to take the $500,000 business where he borrowed the money from his dad and then bought his dad's company that, like Bobby said, if you look, account for inflation, it's $1 million today. He bought the WWE for $1 million and he's going to sell it for $10 billion. Look at what this man did for what the man did in business and the man did in pro wrestling. Now, sitting here as somebody who will say Vince is a creep and he's dirty and he's not a great guy and all the things that go into that, that's where my issue lies, is because I'm worried about what the legacy will look like in the WWE if they sell to the wrong person. And that's what I'm worried about, is making sure. And that's hard to say as a fan, because right now I'm speaking as a fan. I want the sell to happen to the right people, because I don't want the history and the legacy of the last 50 years, 60, 70 years of the business just to be wiped out because somebody has $10 billion to spend. That's what I'm scared of, is wrestling losing its legacy and its history for the largest, most powerful promotion in the world because Vince is a petty little bitch and decides to sell to somebody whose last name isn't McMahon.
I don't know if it's petty, though. Like,
it's petty. Look at it. It's petty. When it comes down to it, it's petty.
The Crockett sold the TBS and Turner. Was that petty?
Crockett wasn't, Crockett in 1986 when he sold had been around for what, 25 years? Maybe.
Longer. Yeah.
It would be, Crockett sold in 86. It was, okay, even in the 50s, so say between 30 and 40 years old. I apologize for not knowing my dates better. But even then, if you're looking at double the age now, look at what Crockett did in 86 and the way it affected the business, and everybody said that was one of the biggest, darkest days in the history. Now put double that history, double that lineage, and double that value, triple that value in what that company has done in the business.
But, okay, so did George Lucas sell out?
Yes. 100% George Lucas sold out.
Stan Lee?
Yes. God rest his soul. I love that man, But, yes, they sold out. That's what you do in business. You develop something, you become the best at it, and then you make them, like, if you want to be a businessman, people don't go into business because they don't want to make money. You go into business to be successful and to make money.
Would it be selling out if Tony Khan and his dad bought it?
Yes.
Okay, so no matter what, it's selling out, making money.
Well, that's the core term of what selling out means, is literally becoming the best at something and then selling it to make the money off of it. Like, that's at the core basis of what it is. Vince is literally selling out. He's taking the wrestling business and he's going, you can have the richest history on the entire planet. You know, the biggest wrestling library, all the history, all the territories, everything WWE owns, you can have it for $10 billion. He doesn't give a shit who you are. But if you've got the money, you can buy his company.
In their excitement level, though, like if Disney buys it, that Disney does make a Hall of Fame inside their parks.
But you also have to look at, like, what Disney and some of these other companies might do to the brand. Like, Disney to me would almost be worst case scenario, because Disney is going to super over commercialize everything WWE. They're going to water it down. They're going to make it like, they're going to want it to be that family friendly thing, and everyone's already complaining enough that WWE is too PG. Think about WWE going G-rated. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, Disney's got the money to, like, do some cool things and, like, branch out some of the other brands of WWE. But if you look at the core product of it, like, I think it would almost be just way too much commercial. I mean, like, look at all the Star Wars crap.
Disney's got Deadpool, though.
That's one.
They do have Deadpool.
One thing that's not PG rated. You know what I'm saying?
Avengers 2, Iron Man said shit.
Oh my god.
I'm pretty sure Endgame and Infinity War both were PG-13, weren't they?
But still, like, there's not gonna be, like, a freaking street match on fucking Disney Plus. Like, that shit's not gonna happen.
Here you go, though. Here's my argument to the Disney's gonna water everything down thing. Look at ESPN Plus. Look at what they do for the 30 for 30 series. It's hard to water down Daryl Strawberry doing 8 balls of coke off of hookers' assholes and stuff. Like, it's hard to water that down. That's still on Disney Plus. They still talk about all the drugs and stuff they did when they were doing the steroid trials. All of that still on Disney Plus. All of the stuff about Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa doing steroids still on Disney Plus. They still got some. No, I'm not going to say questionable content, but they've got adult-natured content on Disney Plus right now. If you go to the ESPN category, some of those 30 for 30s are rated TVMA because of what they got on them.
Honestly, I think the worst thing you're going to see is Roman Reigns is going to be on there and says, "Acknowledge me," and you're watching Disney Plus.
Lord,
I always go back to the South Park episode, and I could hear the mouse in my head. I'm the tribal chief now, bitch.
I don't know.
And The Simpsons are on Disney Plus.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, that's because Disney owns that part of Fox now too.
Thank you, Marie, the marketing genius.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It is what it is.
My fear. I agree. Like, part of it. Like, my fear is, this didn't work out very well for the NWA and WCW. Like, when a TV company bought them.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, Disney, maybe that is why Vince stays in office for as long as he possibly can. Maybe that's why Disney might go after Triple H and want him in office, or Shawn Michaels at NXT. Like, this is potentially, Disney's the one that can produce the most, I think, out of any of the companies that are out there. Disney's the largest. They've got the largest audience. They could probably bring, the Hulk Hogan era. We were all fans of the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov because of a cartoon. Like, longevity, who is Nikolai Volkov? When I see Nikolai Volkov in Mid-South in the 80s, I'm like, why is he even there? Like, he's a WWF star. Disney might be the best avenue. Like, might have the most, other than the Saudis. Can I say F?
Yeah.
Yeah, they might have they might have the most fuck money out there that they can just throw shit around and be like, hey, you know what? Let's make a John Cena cartoon. Let's make a Rock cartoon. Let's make a Stone Cold cartoon where, maybe he takes the Kurt Angle gimmick and he's slapping milk instead of beer.
I guess. But at what point is it too much? Like, everybody loves Star Wars and Marvel, but, like, is the market way oversaturated with that stuff? Absolutely. Every failed Marvel movie concept is now made into a one season Disney Plus show that's like maybe mediocre. Same with all the Star Wars stuff.
What's a failed Marvel property that they made a show out of?
No, I meant like movie concepts. WandaVision was great, but like that was a movie storyline that didn't work out to be a full-length movie, so they made it like there wasn't the what's the word I'm looking
Yeah, and it was
for?
great.
The
and Hawkeye was great.
The draw.
Yeah,
if you want to use the wrestling term.
So like, are they gonna throw so much content in our face that it's too much? Like, I think there's way too much Star Wars crap and way too much Marvel crap.
But isn't that what the Attitude Era was about? Was the Attitude Era took mid-card guys like Val Venus, D'Lo Brown, the Hardys, Edge and Christian, and they made them main eventers by exposing them on a smaller scale. Like, they put them on Sunday Night Heat. They put them on the smaller shows, not Raw, until they built up to Raw. So couldn't Disney potentially do the exact same thing to where, you know what, you finally are selling guys, like guys are selling the arenas like John Cena did last week for ratings on SmackDown, instead of the name WWF, WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, instead of those selling out the arenas, now you actually have true superstars like Stone Cold, like The Rock, like Bret the Hitman Hart, that sell out the arenas because they're going to be there.
I mean, maybe it could go either way.
So you're saying we have a chance?
You're saying there's a chance.
I just worry.
Slim, but there's a chance.
That there's just going to be too much. You know, like, Raw's already a lot for 3 hours. You know what I mean? For 3 hours. Like, it's going to be a lot of... I'm worried about a crap ton of mediocre content.
I think that's what we have, though, right now. 3 hours of Raw every night for the past 20 years has been mediocre.
Quadruple that with Disney.
But at least then I think the big thing is then they control the narrative of the network that they're on. Because obviously USA and Fox will be, Fox might be able to stay. USA will be history. Does it go to Disney Channel exclusives? Like, is there a WWE live network on Disney Plus that shows current stuff? Is it ABC that WWE now goes to and is exposed on ABC and ESPN?
I think it'll all probably go to Fox because Disney owns Fox.
Right, but they also own ESPN, and ESPN launched the AWA in the late 80s and also WCCW in the late 80s. So the potential to make it that sports-orientated AEW, what they promised at the beginning stuff, this could be huge.
And Bama brings up a good point because NBC Universal right now has an ace in their hand already because they do own the deal rights to Peacock. And that's a $1.5 billion deal. So if somebody not named NBC Universal buys that company, not only are they looking to buy WWE for between $8 and $10 billion, they also are looking down the barrel of a close to $1 billion contract buyout to buy those rights back from Comcast, NBC Universal. Thanks for the follow, Vince. Thanks for stopping in, Bubba.
That's only in the USA because WWE is actually on Disney Plus in Europe.
I know, but what I'm saying is just the U.S. deal is worth $1 billion. So to buy the U.S. streaming rights back from Peacock, or you have to let your rival company, stream your stuff then. You see what I mean? Like, they're going to have to buy that contract out no matter what if it's not NBC Universal. But also in the same breath, NBC Universal will have to buy the streaming rights back from Disney. And if they can't stream Peacock over there, then it comes into the question of, do you sell those rights to Netflix, or do you sell them to Hulu, or do you sell them to Amazon? Because you're not going to let that company keep them since they made a bid on the company too. You see what I mean?
Right. And not WWE. Disney is patient on that because if you look at the theme park world, Universal owns the rights to the live action characters of Marvel at Universal Studios, but they cannot use the word Marvel. Like, it's called Superhero Land. They can use the character's name and their likenesses, but they can't use the word Marvel. So Disney is very patient right now, waiting for all that stuff to expire so they can purchase it back, just like they've been waiting for the Incredible Hulk. Like, if Universal doesn't put out another Incredible Hulk movie, I think it's like every 5 years, then Disney has the right to buy it back.
But the Incredible Hulk movie you're referencing is the one with Edward Norton in it. That's the whole reason why we haven't got a Mark Ruffalo origin story, is because Universal still owns those rights to the next Hulk movie. That movie came out when I was in high school. It had to have been 2002, 2003 when the Edward Norton Hulk came out.
Yeah, it came out right after Iron Man, the first one, came out.
Thanks, Vince. I like the new setup too. Allison did a great job building it for us. My amateur coding skills are shining a little bit, but the layout's mostly her. I appreciate it. I love the Hulk ride in Universal. I thought that's one of the coolest roller coasters ever. I know, Bobby, that's what's segue into one of your things, but like, that was a cool ass ride where you get in it and they shoot you through the tube and then they immediately flip you upside down and you like go back underneath where you came from and stuff. Like, it's a Hulk ride. Yeah, you've got one of the original like bolts from it or something, right? When they updated part of it.
Yep. Yeah, they tore it down about 6 years ago. So yeah, I've got the Hulk's nuts on my wall.
You've got the Hulk's nuts on your wall, and Allison's the almighty executive producer she is telling us we need to get this train back on the rails and go back to wrestling.
There's a question.
There's a question. Let's entertain Marie Shadow's idea. Just what if Vince is doing all of this to buy the company completely back from going public and take it private again so he can pass it on to Hunter, Steph, and he can't do that if they are all on the board. So just I shout out to Bama, shout out to Marie. Bobby, what do you think about that switch of it? Is all of this just the smoke and mirrors so that way he can buy the 18% back and go private?
Yeah, I brought that up a couple days ago on TikTok with you, going live. Yellow Shoe Guy and the Will Gray, who's banned for being a bully. And we talked about it. I thought the sale was going to be to Stephanie and to Hunter more than anything else. And I feel like this is Vince giving back to his children, giving back to his lineage, and even giving back to his father. Like, I think as rich as this guy is, has he totally forgotten the trailer park that he came from and the legacy of his grandfather and his father and himself at this point? So I don't know, is Vince totally business, or is Vince a family guy too? And, it's no knock on him if he does sell out, because $10 billion, he's then taking care of generations and generations of his family that won't even know him physically. So what's more important to him, his legacy or him taking care of his family for generations to come?
I think it's that really delicate dance where he has to find the balance between the two. Because like I said, I've preached this the whole time. We got flack for it last night. They said that I got banned for bullying last night. But you and I were getting flack from the peanut gallery because people said that we were giving Vince the old up, down, up, down. You know what I'm talking about? I didn't mean to punch my desk. I'm sorry. That was accidental.
Yeah, what did that one guy say?
He said that we were Vince riders, but we were the D riders.
Yeah, Vince D riders.
That's right. That's what he said. Something clever like
Vince's
that.
Dick and not.
What's up, Fiend Cosplay?
What's up, Fiend? Thanks for stopping in, Bubba. It's good to see you. But yeah, we were told because we weren't trying to ride his dick. We were just simply saying Vince was a good businessman.
He still is.
You take a look at the way he did it. At the core value of it, he bought a company for $500,000 and he's going to sell it for $10 billion. Like I said, the man might be a creep, but that's a hell of a venture.
He bought a company with the owner's money, and then bought a time slot on TBS, sold it back to the people that he bought it from for more than double, and produced a little show called WrestleMania in New York.
He did. He took all of his and Linda's money, all of their money. They liquidated everything for that $1 million show. And they gambled their entire livelihood. If WrestleMania had cracked and it not gone through, they would have folded. The WWE wouldn't have been able to keep going if WrestleMania wasn't successful.
Yeah, Jim Crockett Promotions funded WrestleMania. They were so bitter about that TBS Black Saturday that they bought the time slot back from Vince McMahon for their fans. Hey, fans, we're giving back to you. And Vince took that money and made a national company starring Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper, Paul Orndorff, and Mr. T. With
Marie
Cyndi
says,
Lauper.
oh, sorry. Marie says others don't like it. Others' success. Others just don't like others' success. This guy, you guys calling D-Riders when you're just stating facts. I butchered that, but you get the gist of it. Marie agrees that you and I catch a lot of flack for just speaking facts. I'm a little bit more eloquent sometimes than you are, though, Bobby.
Yeah.
I'm the face here, brother.
That doesn't work for me, sir.
Lord. Wrestle Talk hates both of you equally, I think.
I did. Wrestle Talk does hate us both.
Because you don't push
But we
it
got
up
Justin
your
on our
ass.
side.
It is what it is. We got
got
anything else on the Vince stuff?
What about Tony and his daddy throwing their
Oh,
hat?
yeah. Easy E to the B sent us this earlier in the chat because we had a little conversation about it on TikTok. And he was cracking the joke, what if the cons are interested in the company? Today it was leaked by Barron's, which is a sister publication to the Wall Street Journal, that the Saudi deal was not done. They did not sell to the Saudis, but they released a group of people that was an official list in accordance to what WWE had given Wall Street Journal, a list of people that had thrown their name in the bag that had the money. And we saw the usual suspects: PFI, the Saudi investment firm, Disney, Comcast, NBC Universal, Netflix, Amazon, all the people that we've been talking about and we've all heard. But at the very bottom of the list, very nonchalantly, was Shad Khan's name. What do you think about the cons throwing their name, like throwing their hat in the bag? Is this just a publicity stunt? Do you think there would be any chance at all that the board would allow a sell to happen to the cons? Like that isn't Nick Khan?
I think publicity, yes. I also think that the fact Vince won't sell to another wrestling company. He just won't. I guarantee you, no matter what that old crazy guy is thinking in his, they could probably offer double of anybody else. And I can't see Vince selling to them just for the fact of his meeting with Vern Gagne back in 1984, where Vern and Greg famously yelled at him in an airport. I think it's going to remind him of his childhood, and it's going to give him that PTSD. I can't see Vince selling again to any other wrestling company because that to me says Vince failed. And I think that's how Vince would see it, is he failed as a promoter because another company beat him.
You're absolutely right.
Bama, I disagree with you on that one, Bama. Would Vince have sold to Ted Turner? Oh, okay, never mind. I don't disagree with you. No, I don't. No, Vince would not. Vince would have rather gone out of business than to sell to Ted Turner.
What's that hot take you had the other day, Will, that maybe Vince is selling WWE so he can buy AEW?
Oh, yeah. I was partaking in the trees and festivities late one evening, and we were in the garage just kind of spitballing. And I said, what if he's doing the old rope-a-dope here? All right? Just put your tinfoil hats on. Let's just get ready and just accept the fact that I'm fucking crazy and just listen to my story. All right? Where's my phone? I wrote this down. I'm prepared. All right?
420 reasons why Vince McMahon would not sell.
All right. Listen, all right? Follow me here. Pure speculation. Absolutely nothing to go off. What if in a huge astronomical Marvel-sized what if? 1983, we all know Vince borrowed the money from his dad, blah, blah, blah. Once he had the control of the company, he used this leverage to do things nobody else in the business had ever done. He bought new territories to run in new cities. He bought TV deals. He also had the ability to leverage deals and buy out his competition. Stuff B and Bobby have already talked about. Black Saturday, Vince essentially bought out the remaining territories of JCP, used that TV deals, threw away what he didn't want out of the TV deals and the rosters and all of that. Fast forward to 2022. What if he's doing this in reverse order? We know Vince doesn't have to borrow money from anybody. The man's got more money than fucking God, okay? He can buy whatever he wants. He can't, however, monopolize a business. He can't buy AEW if he owns WWE. All right, so like I said, put your tinfoil hats on. Valued at $125 million, AEW doesn't seem like much, but Vince can't buy AEW if he owns WWE. What if he sells one solely for the purpose of choking out his competition and buying and liquidating the whole operation of the other guy?
That's crazy talk.
You think it's crazy?
Is it?
I told you it was crazy.
Is it just crazy enough?
Bama said, breaking news, Vince is going to sell to Sinclair and debut at Hard to Kill tomorrow. Bobby's looking at me like I'm crazy. That's the first time I've ever seen Bobby Mack speechless.
I know.
I wasn't listening.
To anything I said, that doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me.
My thing is, what if Stephanie and maybe Shane are involved and they're working in cahoots with Vince to make this sale happen?
Is Shane on the board?
Shane is not on the board. Shane
is not on the board. He owns that good stock.
He has Class B shares. Yes.
Yeah. Shane's quiet.
And Triple H is not on the board either, right?
No, he is on the board. He's the chief
on the
content
board.
officer.
But the board, honestly, the board is really just a fluff piece for the public.
You're a fluff piece for the public.
The people that are on the board, Vince still owns the entire thing. So Vince overrules the board no matter what. Like, no matter how, quote unquote, this is a publicly traded company, it's not a publicly traded company. In the heart and soul of it is Vince still can make all the rules. Shane is right there with him. He owns the same kind of stock, not as much, obviously. But the McMahon family never truly let this thing go. They let the public feel like they own part of it. They've made a lot of money in that aspect of it. But a true board of directors, I don't think you would ever really see anywhere else in any other company a board of directors, quote unquote, that's like the WWE board of directors. Like it's a fluff piece. It's their kayfabe. They're kayfabe leaders.
Are you trying to say people like George Barrios and Michelle Wilson aren't viable businessmen and businesswomen?
I know they're viable, but they are fluff pieces. They are pawns on this chessboard.
Those pawns negotiated the most lucrative TV deal in wrestling history, though.
Yep, and they're expendable. And Vince has used them, and he's pawned them, and he's used them as frontline people. You've got Vince is the king. I don't know where the queen is right now, like what she's really doing, other than living in West Palm and living her best life in her 70s. Stephanie's up there, Shane is there, Triple H is there. This is still a family-run business. Like, this is still a mom and pop's business. Just a lot more hands are in there.
Allison's telling you she's playing the walk-off music.
No, this is for both of you.
The walk-off
music. Or
music.
for all of us. Final thoughts.
On the Vince McMahon saga.
Yes. And then
I'm over it. Sell it to anybody but Saudi just because I'm a fan.
So here's something. I tried to bring this up last night, but you got bullied or you got taken off for being bullied. Not that I pointed that out anymore. With your heritage, how would you feel as a fan to support a Saudi product? And do you think that other people in your heritage have any ill in it? Like, obviously, Sami Zayn's got an issue with it. What do you feel like that impact would be with Saudi Arabia?
Allison, you want to tee this one off?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like if it is sold to the Saudis, I would guess to say at least, I would say a minimum of 50%, and that's being generous. 50% of that locker room would quit. Honestly, I think 99% of that locker room would quit. I know that I personally would not support a sale to the Saudis just because of my heritage and things like that. Like, I'm not going to support a country that, oppresses my people. Things like that.
And this is religion and sex.
What?
This would be religion and sex.
Correct. Well, religion / ethnicity and sex. So, because
My
being
3 favorite
Jewish
things.
is, huh?
My 3 favorite things.
Shut up. Being Jewish
55
is a religion and an ethnicity. Just in case you didn't know, teaching people things. Yeah, and I feel like most of the locker room would walk. Sammy and KO for sure.
Do you guys think, this will be the last question, then we'll move on. Do you guys think this was them testing the waters to see how the public would react to the possible sell of a Saudi-ran group? Do you think they were like, hey, Sean, leak this out and let's see how the public reacts, and then we'll see if we want to go forward with it? Because there wasn't a lot of positive feedback from the possibility of them selling to the Saudis. Do you think this was just a ploy? Because we know the sell didn't happen. I'm saying it now, Botch Spots and Chair Shots, right now, as of Thursday night at 10:03 Eastern Time, the WWE has not been sold to PFI, the Saudi investment firm.
But Lisa Marie Presley has passed away.
But Lisa Marie Presley has passed away. God rest her soul.
I don't think it came from the top. I think it might have been somebody, I'm not going to accuse of Triple H, but I'm going to say in that middle ground that disagreed with Vince, put this story out there, fed it to Sapp so he could put it out there. So whoever on that level, maybe it's Steph, maybe it's Triple H, whoever, could just say, told you so, Dad. Told you so. Nobody wants this.
Maybe.
I can see that being the case. All right. I've had all I can handle for Vince McMahon, guys. We're over that. We're moving on, whether y'all want to or not. All right. So, from season one of my favorite episodes we did was the episode, Can I Speak to Your Manager? And what you and I did, Bobby, Allison wasn't an on-screen figure yet. She was still behind the scenes as a producer. We discussed our favorite managers throughout wrestling history. So this time for part 2, I kind of want to try to stick as close to the 21st century as possible. So this is going to be a little bit tricky for you. So I've got some names written down. Bobby's kind of the old school guy, so he'll be the one to relate them to say, these guys remind me of, Ellering or Corny or somebody. And then Allison, you were spoon-fed and shoved down your throat the old school ways because that's what I watch. But you also know and appreciate new school wrestling. So I'm curious about your take. So we're going to start this conversation off easy. Who are some of your favorite managers, valets, advocates, whatever you want to call them, that have came out post-Attitude Era WWE? Can you guys think of any right off the top of your head that immediately come to mind?
Paul Heyman.
Okay, well, that's an easy one, yeah.
Way to take that softball.
Yeah.
Bobby.
Way to take the softball, Bobby.
Talk about my balls.
Okay, well, let's,
No, Bobby.
You
no.
literally, the conversation is about managers, and you picked the one that we're going to have the most to talk about. Allison, pick a different manager besides Paul Heyman. Somebody that, we're not going to spend another 25 minutes talking about.
Katie brought up Zelina Vega, and I love Zelina.
That's a great pick. That's more along the lines of what I was talking about.
Yeah, roll your eyes, Bobby.
We're going to get to Paulie. I just didn't want him to be the first one. I think Zelina's exactly what I'm talking about with this. When you look at the way she's came in, she's been involved. She was with Andrade before when he was in WWE. She's been involved with a lot of really powerful guys that have had semi-decent careers. What do you think of her as a mouthpiece, Bobby?
I think she got Alberto over, and he's not a likable guy inside or outside the ring or outside the business. So, kudos for her to be able to do that. I think she's failing pretty miserably with this new group. I don't even know what their names are. So Selena did well with Alberto, but not now.
Legado del Fantasma, Bobby.
Yeah, she's proving at this point that she's not as strong a mouthpiece as she was. I will agree with Marie. Vicky Guerrero, if you're going to talk about a woman after the Attitude Era, Vicky Guerrero is probably the woman to go to. And the manager to go to. Not even woman, but manager.
When you look at some of the female managers that had managing careers after their wrestling careers. Stacy Keibler's another one. What did you think about her as a manager?
What? So when you talk about women wrestlers that became managers, Stacy Keibler is the first one that comes to your mind.
Of post-Attitude Era, like valets, we're talking about women. Yes, Bobby, she's on my list, so I picked another woman. It's segues, man. Let me host the show. You just talk. Be here and look pretty.
What about, so Sherry Martel, and she's Attitude Era. She's in WCW, but she's Attitude Era.
Perfect pick. Thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you for not bullying me and making me cry.
You're lucky you live 800 miles away from me. So another one on my list, I'm curious about this, was MVP. The Hurt Business. Like, what did you think about when MVP made the transition over to being a manager?
He surprised me. All right, so SEC Vince is pointing out, I said Alberto Del Rio, and that's not who Selena had. Selena had
Armando Alejandro Estrada.
Yeah, so I apologize. MVP, I liked his feud with Matt Hardy back in the day. I thought it was really good. I thought he was kind of weak until he did get with Bobby Lashley, and it's proven to be a good, he's gotten Shelton Benjamin over, which other than the time Shelton was with Kurt Angle, Shelton's never really been that over. Cedric Alexander has never been over unless it was with MVP. So, yeah, I think MVP is, he's not a Bobby Heenan. He's not even a Sherry Martel, but he is a guy that when he's there, he commands respect. He dresses the part. And for that, I'd give MVP a nod.
What do you think about MVP, Al?
I love MVP. I think I didn't really like his run with Omos. I thought that was real stale. But I love him with Bobby.
He did not get Omos over.
Yeah. I love him with Bobby Lashley. I think they make a great pair. I'm glad, this past week they, gave the bump and they're getting back together. I definitely think that bringing back the Hurt Business is a good idea. I feel like Lashley has been a little lost without them. So, I don't know. I think he's really cool. And I learned something the other day, and Marie will be proud that I learned this, even though Will told me. But I didn't know that MVP had a New Japan run.
He did. I was about to bring it up. He was the first IWGP Intercontinental Champion.
Yes.
Go back.
We learned it last night.
Yeah, season premiere. Botched, Bots, and Chair Shots, season 2. Marie and I did the history of the strap for the IWGP Intercontinental title. Fantastic listen. If you want to hear about the New Japan, like the Professor New Japan as always. I put Marie over every chance I get. Huge fan, huge friend of Marie Shadows.
I agree with Bama in the chat. Hurt Business versus Bloodline would be on fire.
I think so.
It'll be a great match. There's no way around it. And I think if they do it right and they take the belts off of the Bloodline, the Hurt Business would be the perfect first feud, like post-championship drop. Because it would be that it would make Roman human again. So it would be a good opportunity for Bobby to get an easy win in a series of 2 or 3 matches if they booked it right. So I think that would be great. And I think having MVP and Paul Heyman is something that they've missed. Because those two being able to go at each other on the mic will be epic.
Big goal.
Yeah, and Lashley's never been good on the mic. Like his Impact run as their champion was terrible. Like he came out like, I don't know. I was at the arena. I don't know, man. Like that black hat or the black headband that he would wear, like just looked so awkward. Like I couldn't even hear what he was saying. Like I'm just like looking at his headgear going, what are you doing, man? Like, did you forget to take that off before you came out here? Like, it's not like you have messy hair. Like, take the hat off. It doesn't make you look intimidating. You just are just there.
I feel like Bobby needs MVP, and that's what's been missing this last bit from Bobby.
I feel like Bobby is the MVP. Oh, wait a second. You guys are talking about Lashley. Never mind.
Lord, you're definitely not the MVP.
Everybody knows, and everybody in the chat, I'm not even going to turn my head to the right to look. Everybody's going to be like, Allison's the MVP, which is true. I'm not arguing. I'm just saying that we all know Allison's the MVP.
Chat.
hear me out. Maria Kanellis specifically with the Kingdom. That's a great pick right there. Thank you guys for coming in tonight, Katie, and doing my job for me. Maria Kanellis. They were talking about it today in one of the group chats on Twitter that I'm in, that some of the guys didn't even realize Adam Cole was in the Kingdom. And none of those guys really, I would say Bennett, between Bennett, Taven, and Cole, I would probably say Bennett's the least versed on the mic, but he's not a bad talker. But Maria has that, she's very Vicky Guerrero-esque in a sense that when she talks, like, she can make you hate her or make you fall in love with her, all at the same time, just depending on what kind of mood she is. I love Maria Kanellis' ability to talk.
I got one.
What?
However brief that it was, what about William Regal with the
Blackpool Combat Club.
Yeah, and the 2 weeks with MJF.
Ooh, that's a brilliant one.
I know.
The Blackpool Combat Club. Bobby, what did you think about that run and having William Regal be kind of the focal point and the teacher, mentor, educator of the BCC?
I found it weird because William Regal, yes, his career is longer than what the other guys were, but at that point in time, Daniel Bryan had already surpassed William Regal's career, and so did Ambrose at that point, or Moxley. Like, they had both already main evented WrestleMania, and William Regal, has he ever main evented any pay per view, ever?
Has Paul Heyman
so,
by himself
as a wrestler?
That's what I'm saying. Like, you can't.
Paul Heyman has been a main event wrestling manager. Like, he's many a time over. But William Regal was never a pro wrestling, like, I don't know, like, he wasn't the talk, Bob, you could probably, for Allison's point, you could say Bobby Heenan, even though he was a professional wrestler, never main evented, but he did main event matches with Ultimate Warrior in those Weasel suit matches. JJ Dillon, Paul Ellering, okay, maybe they've never main evented, but they brought their characters up because Hawk and Animal for the Road Warriors, or, even like Tully at some point, were not main event talents until they got with these managers. Now you've got guys that were WrestleMania main eventers going backwards with, and, I know I might get a lot of hate for this. He's really talented, William Regal, but he was a mid-carder, upper mid-carder at best during his pro wrestling career. He was never really known as a manager. He managed Bobby Eaton at some point in time in WCW as the Blue Bloods, and a tag team partner as well, kind of guided him. But to me, Regal was good, but I think he would have been better used with talent that weren't as over as what Daniel Bryanson or John Moxley were with the Combat Club. Like, for me, a guy that I would look at during this time period is Armando Estrada with Umaga. Like, before Roman Reigns was able to get the I Know a family over and make them bigger than what they've ever been in their entire career, it took mouthpieces. Captain Lou did it with the Wild Samoans, and I think Estrada did it later on with Umaga.
Eric Bischoff now with the Bloodline.
Yeah, Eric Bischoff did it earlier as well. With the 3-minute warning. Now Roman and the Usos have brought this family to a new level. But before that level, I would put Estrada in the same category as Bischoff and Captain Lou on getting these wild Samoans over.
What do you think? Katie in the chat, just knocking out home runs. Stephanie McMahon, but specifically like the early 2000s Steph when she was the HBIC. I specifically come to mind
What's that mean?
Head bitch in charge.
Thank you, Allison. Specifically come to mind is the Jericho Rhino rivalry when she was Rhino's manager, and her and Jericho went back and forth. Those were some hella great pay-per-views.
Yeah, that's what I was going to point out was I think the Stephanie and Jericho part was so much better than even like the Stephanie Helmsley or McMahon Helmsley era. Like her and Jericho, they played off each other amazing.
I agree. She was great. I also feel like watching the evolution of Stephanie's character throughout WWE, all the way up through until Ronda's debut when the last time she was in a match. Her career historically has been, you saw her go from the innocent little kid to being involved in the business to all the stuff with, Edge, or not Edge, but Test, Triple H, and then all of that nonsense, and the fake marriage, and then the wedding, and the, everything. You watch this woman grow inside of her company. But then you think about, how many characters we've seen her play as a valet and manager. Do you think Stephanie McMahon's in-ring career is going to warrant a Hall of Fame induction one day?
I think so.
Yeah. From timid teenager to getting the marriage with Triple H, to the boobs with The Rock and Jericho, going back and forth on that. She's put herself out there in more ways than one. And her very humble beginnings, obviously she's a rich girl, blah, 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 but she started on the bottom. And if I was a Jericho guy, I'd probably say a bunch of jokes that she's still on the bottom and top and backwards and forwards and everywhere else. But she's done incredible with her position. She really has. And yeah, she's definitely a Hall of Fame talent in front of the camera and behind the camera.
She's a former women's champion. And Bema says that her evil glare was iconic. I completely agree with that. Look, she had those McMahon eyes that she could give you.
Yeah, I loved when her and Tori were part of DX, against the Kane rivalry. It was perfect. It really was.
What do you guys think about another manager that's kind of broke onto the scene? He did a lot of work with the trios before, especially when the Lucha Brothers were in AAA and stuff like that. But Alex Abrahantes, it's one of those guys. You know who he is. He's the guy that comes out with the Death Triangle. Yeah, him and Brandon Cutler had the spot last night with the cold spray and everything. Yeah. What do you guys think about Alex Abrahantes and the Death Triangle?
I don't notice him.
I'm looking him up.
No.
I forget that, I know Bobby doesn't really watch AEW a lot. Well, I'll tee it off. I'll talk about Alex. I'll give him his roses. I think one of the important things to remember about Alex is he's a manager that's not afraid to take a bump. I'm not exactly sure about his in-ring experience, but when you see him get in the ring and work and the way he moves, he looks like somebody who's at least moderately trained. So I appreciate that. He's familiar with the business. He can talk. And I think what's important to remember is you don't hear him cut a lot of promos on AEW, but when you hear him cut promos in AAA and he gets to speak in Spanish, his promo skills are fucking fire. What?
Yeah, my thing about Abrahantes is, he was trained in the Heart Dungeon in '96. I started actually on my birthday, December 6th.
You Wikipedia'd the fuck out of that, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Considering 2 seconds ago you were like, I don't even know who this guy is.
But yeah, I'm reading about him. Apparently, he's got a little bit of background in Calgary, Alberta. So training there. He was also head writer for Masked Warriors on MTV2, vice president of Lucha Libre. So he does have some wrestling experience. He does have a diversified background. I really don't know much about him other than he's 45 years old, and he looks kind of like a dork, but
I'm going to block Wikipedia from your computer.
He's an interesting
next time I see you.
So, I guess I've never noticed that there were 4 people that came out with Death Triangle. And to me, honestly, as a manager, if you don't really talk that much, are you really a manager or are you just some sort of, accessory? The point of a manager is to be, that full-time mouthpiece for those guys that are shit on the mic. So, if I don't notice you and you don't really talk much, are you really a manager? Or are you just friends with some guys that are pretty good at wrestling and you just get to hang out with them?
Katie brings up a good point.
And that's what got me confused when Will mentioned Stacy Keibler was, granted, yes, she did capture my attention. I did look at her, but she didn't speak. Tess spoke. Steiner spoke. She didn't speak. So why would she be on a list?
She had the ability to add to a story because of who she was.
Because of real.
I'm trying to be delicate with how I say this, but they involved a lot of times where it was the damsel in distress and Tess had to save his girl. I'm not going to go into it because I'm not going to be... I may be the heel now, Bobby, but I'm not going to be the yellow shoe guy. Katie brings up a good point. She should have been on this episode. I'm just going to call it. Next time, Katie just should have been on this episode. I think he's a good mouthpiece for them, too, especially when Penta and Phoenix were majorly speaking in Spanish and he was letting them be themselves. And I think that's important because one of the issues with their mic skills in AEW is the language barrier. So I think that's something to appreciate is that Alex gives them the ability to where they can rip somebody to shreds in... he can rip them to shreds with their words, and then he'll be able to look at you and he'll go... he'll deliver it in English the way it needs to be delivered. And I think that's something that Alex brings to the table that not a lot of managers do, is because being bilingual, he can let his boys be themselves and speak from the heart and still, scream and yell in Spanish, and then he can translate it and get them over in English. So I think Alex brings something special to the table with that aspect of it.
Yeah, I think that would work better with Zelina if she did that same thing.
That's a good call. Legato doesn't do it as the way Phoenix and Penta do, though. Penta and Phoenix are still very heavy. What's up, Getcho? Thank you. What's up, Just? Scissor me, Daddy, Just. Scissor me. I lost my train of thought now. I completely forgot what I was talking about. What was the last thing I said, Allison? We derailed.
I was looking up the guy. I know who he is now.
Santos can talk. Okay, yeah, that's right. We were talking about Legato and some of those guys.
Sorry.
No. Legato, you're right. Just got me all distracted. Him and Vince get me flustered. They both know they do it. We were talking about Legato and the need for a bilingual mouthpiece. Somebody that can let his boys speak Spanish and still get over in English. But Wild and Santos and those guys in Legato have both established that they're fluent and able to speak clearly and efficiently in English. Not that Ray and Penta can't, but Spanish, like I said, was very much their primary language. Whereas I think with Wild and Santos, for instance, they're much more comfortable speaking English. So they don't need Zelina to necessarily do that same thing.
Yeah, but I think it might be good for character development.
Yeah, it can add to the story.
What about, speaking of Scissor Me Daddy, what about Daddy Ass?
Ooh, that's a good one. What do you think about Billy Gunn as a manager there, Bobby Mack?
Did you see the Acclaim come out last night? I think it was in LA, and they screwed up the rap. Did you see that on YouTube?
I did. I brought it up. I showed it to Al right before we went on air.
Yeah, it's hilarious because I'll tell you what, Billy Gunn, as he's walking back to the back because they wanted to redo the entire segment, he says, "This is why I only said 2 words."
Yeah, I love that. That's a good way. I mean, give Billy credit, man. He's still funny. The dude's fucking jacked. Even into his 50s now, like he's ripped. He's in arguably the best shape of his career.
That's why he's not with WWE anymore.
He's also putting it into perspective. Looking at the old Road Dogg Jesse James, he's definitely had the better of the careers post New Age Outlaws, to say the least.
Yeah, he's I don't know. I think that's a hit and miss. The other guys are all behind the scenes, pushing people, blah, blah, blah. He's doing something in front of the camera because he wants to do it. Could Sean still do something in front of the camera? Probably, if he could take that stupid hat off, whichever one he's wearing. Road Dogg could definitely talk somebody still into the stands, into the seats. Billy is shining in a different way than he ever has in his career. And he's probably one of those few guys in the back in the AW locker room that is getting some respect. And granted, it's from his 2 kids. It's from, his tag team as well. I think Billy's one of those guys that he's probably got the biggest audience of the AEW locker room actually listening to him behind the scenes than any other veteran, because for whatever reason, they don't want to listen to Arn. They didn't want to listen to Regal. They didn't want to listen to Tully. They didn't want to listen to Punk. But there's a group of them that will actually listen to Billy Gunn.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's because his kids are saying, hey, my daddy's talking, shut up.
His kids don't like him, though.
They had a rough history beforehand. Like, you should really, like, the Austin and Colton Gunn story is kind of interesting because their relationship with their dad early on was pretty much non-existent. And he really came around once they got into the business and started getting into the business. He came back into their lives later. Like, it's a great story in a sense that they reunited later and everything's good now. But it's not the happy-go-lucky Hallmark movie that they would have, that you could necessarily take right off the rip with AEW TV. They present it as there being a family, you know, like a thing, but that wasn't always the case. Daddy Ass wasn't always Daddy Ass. He was Mr. Ass for a little while.
Yeah, well, Hallmark movies are all about the end, not the middle or beginning.
Yeah, like Austin was on a reality show with a bunch of other celebrity kids, and he talks a lot about it, about like how he's never had a really good relationship with his dad, and like that him and Colton like got into wrestling to get the attention from their dad, and that, you know, Colton at the time, this was 2 years ago, year and a half ago, Colton like really didn't want to wrestle, but he's doing it.
Yeah, well, you can look at Dustin Rhodes, Charlotte Flair, not so much Reed Flair, but what's the other Flair? David Flair.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's there's a long history there of, you know, these wrestlers or celebrities that are on top of the world that, you know, don't remember their family, and then when they finally get off the road, you know, it's not like Sylvester Stallone. Like, you make a movie for a month or 2 months, 3 months, you go home. These are guys that were literally on the road for 300 plus days. If you're in Hulk Hogan's case, he was on the road for 600 plus days in 1 year. Because he was flying back and forth through time zones.
He flew to Japan so many times that the difference in time zones equated to the extra 30 days in the year or whatever. Yeah, that was his story, exactly. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So you know, it's, you know, these guys, and, you know, Billy Gunn was probably the end of that type of era because he was part of the Attitude Era. You know, in the 90s did, you know, have a lesson schedule. So, you know, it's good that they reconnect. Like, it's amazing that, you know, they respect their dad enough that they do want to reconnect with him. And, you know, it's again, it's not where you start the race, it's where you finish, I think, a lot of times. And, you know, that, I think that's important, and that's something to remember, that, you know, at least now they're connecting, and it's good that they all have this relationship at this point in time.
Yeah. Another one that I find interesting is, and I only saw like the very tail end of this because Lacey got pregnant. But when they did that storyline where, like, Ric Flair was dating Lacey or whatever, like, and they were against Charlotte.
That is so creepy.
That was such a weird angle, too. And the idea that they tried to play it off like Lacey's baby was Ric's. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really weird. And that also went back to the Charlotte Flair stuff. Like, that whole thing, because there was a botch on the pregnancy tests, and Charlotte's came back pregnant, and they took her off the card, and then it turned out she wasn't pregnant, and they were like, fuck, now we've got to work you back in, and, like, it was a whole debacle and mess around that time, and Flair was the manager. Have you ever appreciated Flair as a manager at any point throughout his career, Bobby, or was he always just a better worker?
You know, during Evolution, I thought Flair did a really good job with Orton and Batista. Obviously, they did segue him into, or not segue is probably the wrong word. They did eventually morph him into, you know, an equal with them in the ring or whatever. Ric Flair is a great talker, but Ric Flair is a great talker about Ric Flair. Mm-hmm. He's not a great talker about other people.
Like your boy Hogan.
Hogan's never been a manager.
Fair enough.
You could say, like, you know, Roddy Piper. When Roddy Piper became a commentator, he was a terrible commentator because he always just equated things back to himself. Jesse Ventura, opposite, was a great commentator. He could equate things. He could put himself in and tie himself over, but it wasn't just putting himself over like what Piper would. Kurt Hennig was another one. Kurt Hennig did a good job, but not a great job at putting other people over. Bobby Heenan could put other people over. Getting back to Ric Flair as a manager, no, Ric Flair is too big of a star to be a manager. Buddy Rogers tried it back in the 80s to become a manager after being the biggest star in professional wrestling. Bruno Sammartino tried it as well with his son. There's some guys that are just too big to be managers. They're going to overshadow the person that they're with. Lou Albano's, the Bobby Heenans, the classy Freddie Blassie was probably one of the biggest stars to actually become a manager and be able to get people over. There's a certain je ne sais quoi to be able to do that.
That's a French word from somebody from Virginia, boy.
Yeah. Bobby or Ric Flair, no, on the manager standpoint, he overshadows. Even, you know what? Charlotte Flair is the biggest women's professional wrestler out there. And when Ric Flair came out, he still overshadowed her at 70 years old. So Flair, love him, love to have him around in the sport, but he's too big to be a manager. Just like Hogan would be too big to be a manager. Just like if Randy Savage came out and managed somebody, it wouldn't work.
My favorite Ric Flair quote right now is that he was on After the Bell, and no free shout-outs. But he told the story about this last week when Charlotte came back and won the title, about how he was in the building and they kept it such a good secret, even he didn't know she was in the building. And he said that he left to go party with a bunch of hockey players at a bar. So he left SmackDown before her return happened because he didn't realize she was coming back. And after the fact, she texted him and he was at the bar and he was talking to Corey Graves and he was like, yeah, Ashley messaged me and was like, Dad, where the hell are you? I'm here tonight. I just came back. And he was like, why the fuck didn't you tell me? And it's the whole thing is Charlotte didn't want to tell her dad she was coming back and getting the strap because she said Ric Flair's mouth is too fucking big. And he was like, it's true. My mouth's pretty big. Like,
that's funny.
Yeah. I love that about him, though, that he was able to joke around about it, that even his daughter wouldn't tell him that she was getting the strap because she knew he would talk about it.
That's hilarious.
We should do a whole episode on Ric Flair.
I've said that.
I could handle that. I would do a Flair episode. Let's bang out a couple of these real quick, these last few before we get to the big one.
To the GOAT?
To the GOAT. Stokely Hathaway with The Firm. What did you guys think about him in NXT before he got cut and then made the transition over to AEW? Do either of you remember him?
No. I
Nope.
Now.
No? Marie says I'm on the Ric Flair episode. We'll make it happen. I think Stokely is a vital... Oh, go ahead, Bobby. You're Wikipediaing real quick?
Don't wiki.
Yeah, he was born in 1990, so he's 10 years older than my daughter. Okay, so he's apparently African-American as well. He's from the ROH dojo. I have no clue who this guy is. Ring of Honor, Independent Circuit,
He was the guy... Let me clarify for you, Bobby, before you embarrass yourself some more, you Wikipedia ninja. Damn it, Bobby. He was the guy who climbed the ladder and took the X down in the Casino Royale ladder match and gave the X to MJF, and then MJF used it to cash it in. That's who Stokely is. Stokely Hathaway. He came over.
He's the guy that MJF has on retainer?
Yes. With The Firm, with Big Bill and all of those guys.
Yeah. He's a nothing.
You're a nothing.
Wow. What do you mean he's a nothing?
In the annals of pro wrestling, when you go in 2050 and somebody says Stokely Hathaway, they're going to have the same memory of him as I do right now.
Yeah, but he did. Katie, once again, Katie, bringing it in. Katie, you should have been on this episode. I've said that like 5 times.
Yeah, Katie, you should be here.
He throws you those one-liners like you raggedy bitch. Like, he just says stuff like that, and he's got those one-liners that just make you laugh. You know what I mean? Like, he just has that ability to, like, make you giggle. He could rip somebody to shreds. Like, I would like to see Stokely and MVP, like, just roast each other.
So in 2050, somebody comes to you or Allison and goes, Captain Lou Albano, Classy Freddie Blassie, Stokely Hathaway. Rank them. Who's 1, 2, and 3?
Repeat your list again. I was reading. You know I can't walk and
Captain
chew
Lou
gum.
Albano, Classy Freddie Blassie, Stokely Hathaway.
I wouldn't put any of those guys in my top 3.
If those are the 3 on your list,
Blassie, Albano, and then Hathaway.
in 2050.
Yeah.
So this is 27 years from now.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to know who Stokely Hathaway is.
You can't compare everything that's on TV today, though, to the absolute greats of all time. Just because Stokely isn't Paul Heyman doesn't mean that I can't say Stokely's a bad manager, though.
Okay, so Stokely Hathaway, Maria Kanellis, and
name one other person we've talked about in the episode, Bobby.
You said I can't say Paul Heyman, so Billy Gunn.
I would probably say Maria, Stokely, Billy in order for managers. What?
Nothing. It's a podcast. I'm just waiting for somebody to talk.
Oh my!
You looked like you were going to say something, Bobby.
Yeah, you did. God, I'm not going to bully you. I'm not going to bully you.
And here's the thing, like, of course, everything is an opinion, and opinions are like assholes. We all have one. That's why Bobby's here. But
I knew that was coming.
131:49. That's a TikTok clip.
Yeah.
You're welcome. But, I mean, it's all relative to who likes what and what time period you watch wrestling and blah, blah, blah. Just because, like, Bobby doesn't think that Stokely's the greatest of all time, somebody else might.
We don't yuck any yums here at Botched Spots and Chair Shots. We don't yuck any yums. Like what you want. Watch whatever wrestling you want. You want to watch a death match? Go watch a death match. You want to watch AEW? Watch AEW. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, everybody loves garbage can wrestling.
What? I can't wait for you to listen to the interview I'm going to drop in.
GCW?
I've interviewed 2 GCW guys tonight, Bobby. It's nothing but deathmatch wrestling all next week on TN Hot Takes.
Is it garbage can wrestling or garbage championship wrestling? Which one is it?
I interviewed somebody who has worked for XPW, CZW, GCW, ECW. Like, he's worked for every major hardcore deathmatch wrestling promotion. IWA Mid-South. Like, he's worked for everybody. The dude's been in the business for 25 years.
Why can't he hold a job?
He's a deathmatch wrestler. What do you mean?
Bobby, how many jobs have
you had, Bobby? You're not even a wrestler. I'm not going to call you your shootout, but you've had more jobs than me.
Well, yeah, everybody loves me.
You've had 4 jobs since I've known you.
Everybody loves you for about 16 to 18 months, and then you go to a different state and start a new franchise.
Spread my seed. Spread my seed.
Oh, no, Bobby.
Okay. Here we go.
Oh, no, Grandpa.
The managers in the 21st century. It's hard to not talk about him. We talked about him in the first episode because the man's been in the business for 1,000,000 years. He's ran a promotion. He's been a booker. He's, been all over the world.
Jim Cornette.
I'm talking about Paulie Dangerously, the second greatest manager of all time.
Who's first?
Bobby the Brain. Bobby the Brain, Paul Heyman, James E. Cornette. In that order, 1, 2, 3.
What about the other Paul?
Who?
Paul Bear.
Paul Bear is my top 5. He would be number 5.
Paul Bear was a good character manager. Percy Pringle was a good manager. But I think the Paul Bear character, no pun intended, kind of killed Percy's legacy.
Well, if you look at it like that, Percy Pringle managed Texas Red and WCCW, and then
he also managed Ravishing Rick Rude. He's managed a ton of guys, but I think the Paul Bearer character, he's more known for Paul Bearer than he is Percy Pringle, and Percy Pringle had more character than Paul, if that makes sense. Like, Paul Bearer was a character, Percy Pringle had character.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
I think Paul Bearer, Percy Pringle, either one of them, that's why he's in the top 5 managers of all time for me. But Paul Heyman, specifically speaking, Not the ECW Paulie Dangerously, not the WWE Booker, general manager, creative mind. What I'm talking about is the advocate, the special counsel, the man in the ear of the tribal chief, our WWE Universal Undisputed Heavyweight Wrestling Champion, Roman Reigns. That guy.
Could you say that with less enthusiasm?
I'm just really bored with Roman Reigns being my Universal Undisputed World Wrestling Federation champion.
Champion of the champions.
Listen, Will.
The champions.
Will, after you say all that, you got to remember. Thank you for watching Disney Plus.
Now get out there and make me some goddamn money.
Listen, Paul E. Dangerously was a lot different than Paul Heyman. Paul E. Dangerously was this loudmouth, suburban jerk. He pretty much was the anti-Jim Cornette. Like, they were polar opposites. They managed the exact same tag team, the Midnight Express. That's where Paul E. Dangerously debuted in the AWA with Dennis Condrey, one half of the original Midnight Express. He called his tag team the original Midnight Express. And you had Jim Cornette on the other side, the Southern boy. He had the tennis racket. Paul Lee had the phone. He developed the Dangerous Alliance. He had Rick Rude. He had Bobby Eaton. He had Arn Anderson, Larry Zbyszko, Stone Cold, or not Stone Cold, but Stunning Steve Austin. Paulie Dangerously then morphed over to ECW and became a promoter. He stayed the Paul E. Dangerously character for a long time, and then he morphed into Paul Heyman. Later on, the Paul Heyman character jumping over to WWE, WWF. With Brock Lesnar, he was a true solidified manager, even though, he was the advocate or whatever else. He was the mouthpiece. Now he's morphed back, and as he's gotten older, he's morphed into something that you never thought Paul E. would be. He's there. He's holding a title. He's not talking all that much. When he does talk, it's kind of like Roosevelt. It's carry a big stick. He's got that. Like, he's got that part of the part of that quote. When he says something, it means something. It means something even more than what it did prior, because he doesn't speak all that often. He did it a little bit with CM Punk, and then later with Brock, as Brock became the country boy. But now he's perfected it with Roman Reigns. People talk about Chris Jericho morphing throughout his entire career. Paul Heyman, Paulie Dangerously, has morphed throughout his entire career. And I'm not going to say he's number 2. I think him and Cornette are neck and neck. I think what gives Heyman a little bit of an edge is his longevity in pro wrestling. If Cornette would have been able to not tell the jokes that he told on NWA TV, he might still be that neck and neck number 2 conversation. So yeah, Paul Heyman to me is a brilliant manager, just like Bama's saying. He's done a lot. The reason why I think Bobby Heenan's always going to be above him is because Bobby Heenan took guys like the Brooklyn Brawler, Terry Taylor, King Kong Bundy, Big John Studd, and turned them all into main eventers, where Paul has always been with main eventers. TED Talk.
Lord, I think that,
And yeah, Katie, because we had the same.
I love this version of Paul, although sometimes, like, I find it funny, like, him just, like, creeping in the background, like, holding on to that title for dear life. Like, the memes.
He's a mensch on a bench.
He is a mensch on a bench. And the memes are fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just, like, he's just holding on to those titles for dear life, and it's precious. It's like, he's there, but he's not there.
I think,
like Bobby.
Yeah. I agree with Bama. Heyman is one of the most brilliant wrestling minds on the planet, 100%. I'll take Paul over Bobby on the mic, too. And then Paul Bearer was a key component and one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, The Undertaker. That's a huge thing to take away as well, Katie, is if you don't think about The Undertaker having Paul Bearer early in his career to help him develop and stuff, that character had to have somebody, and William Mooney was a legit pallbearer in real life before he became a wrestling manager. So I think it's crucial. The Undertaker wouldn't have been the same he was without William Mooney, Percy Pringle, pallbearer. So you're absolutely right there. But to me, Paul Heyman represents, he's the epitome of that like sleazeball heel manager. He's got the ability to, I've said it before about him, he could sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves. You know, like, you know it. She knows it's going to make a mess. She's going to be angry about it, but it's still not going to matter. He's going to convince her that's what she needs, and that's the kind of person Paul Heyman is. He is the kind of guy that can read a crowd. One of the biggest things anybody I've ever talked to about, one of the biggest things I've talked to is when people say they've met him. Like, he's a sponge. He'll look at you and he'll go, this is what you need to do. These are the things you need to work on. This is what I would do if I was you. Like, he's got the ability to grow and, you know, endorse and prosper and help young guys. Like, Paul Heyman does so much for the business beyond just being a manager and a wrestler and a personality and a booker and a promoter. So that's it.
Yeah, and I think even like, you know, him being in the background, it's a little bit like Paul Bearer, is he does the facials like Paul Bearer would. As Taker would, you know, say his few words. I think that Paulie Dangerously, Paul Heyman, he does make those facials like Paul Bearer does. That Paul Bearer did that, and that gets his guys over. I think the fact that he's able to step back and be the second guy is impressive. Because, again, that's Bobby Heenan level. Because if you look at Cornette was usually the mouthpiece of all his guys. Like, he was the speaker. Like, he was the, you know, starring act of it. You know, people would be, you know, you challenge people. Are they more mad at Cornette, or are they more mad at Dennis Condrey, Bobby Eaton, or Stan Lane with the Midnight Express? So, yeah, Heyman does have that ability to put his guys over. And he knows when he should talk and when he shouldn't. When he was first with Roman, he spoke a lot. And then now that Roman's learned how to talk, he's backing off. You'd say the same thing when he was with CM Punk. He knew his role was not the talker. And he would stand there with the belt and make the facials. So I guess now that I'm actually saying this stuff out loud, maybe Heyman is number 2. And Cornette is a very close number 3.
What times?
That's what I said. I put him as a very close 3, but I think Heyman may have taken that number 2 spot. All right, guys. We did all the damage we're going to do for tonight. What are your closing thoughts on managers in wrestling? Let's just go ahead and throw it out there as the closing. Bobby, you said your top manager of all time, Bobby the Brain, Paul Heyman, Jim Cornette, 1, 2, 3. Allison, what are yours?
Well, I'm going to say it's only Paul Heyman, just because he's really the only one I've super been exposed to. Like, the other ones are great, but, like, I haven't watched enough to make an opinion other than Paul Heyman.
So your homework, Allison. 1, watch WrestleMania 3.
I have.
Because Bobby Heenan comes out, I think, like 3 or 4 times.
Right.
2,
so, like, I've seen bits, but I haven't seen, like, the longevity. Like, I haven't seen, like, all these years worth of matches to make, like, an actual, like, this is this, blah, 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 like, of all time. Like, there's not a way for me to do that at this
point. So
point.
2 is watch the Royal Rumble 1992 and just listen to Bobby Heenan's commentary. Okay. Because those 2 events, WrestleMania 3 and the Royal Rumble 1992 alone, will make you appreciate Bobby Heenan so much more than what you might already appreciate him as.
We are actually watching through all of the Rumbles right now, so I will definitely do that.
Well, good.
I've seen them all. I'm watching them all again for fun. Guys, plug your stuff. Bobby, where can they find you? Where's the LSU guy at? What's he got going on?
Well, you can find me on TikTok because I'm not banned this week like other people for being a bully because I'm very nice on TikTok to everybody that I talk. I love Wrestle Talk. I love all you guys on there and all you ladies on there. I will always support you guys on TikTok as the Yellow Shoe Guy. If that's not deep enough, I still have my head just above the level. You can find me on Twitter, Yellow Shoe Guy, Twitch as well, Yellow Shoe Guy. I do have my open accounting page as well, so you guys can follow me in all those type of places. If you want to go in the metaverse, I'm Yellow Shoe Guy on there too. So yeah, come on around. I'm gambling on metaverse. I go to Horizon Worlds every now and then. But yeah, if you want to talk something or you want to get insulted, if you want to be possibly, yeah, if you possibly want to disagree with what you're speaking to, then follow Yellow Shoe Guy. Just Google my name. You'll see me somewhere. But again, I promise you, I will never bully you.
That's not true.
Miss Siegel, plug your stuff. Tell them where to find you.
You can find me in all the places as Just a Girl 918. I'm at 452 TikTok followers. I'm almost to that 1,000 so that I can go on live with these two buffoons and make sure that nobody gets banned anymore. What, Bobby?
Only live with one of these buffoons in the next 24 hours.
Shut up, Bobby.
True.
Lord. I say the same thing every week. I'm going to do a heel support group comic. I'm really going to do it this time. I really got to get back into the swing of that. If y'all want to help me with the heel support group comic, slide to those DMs and give me your ideas. The characters that we have are our new character, which I've yet to bring out, which is kind of funny for now, is we have an Attitude Era Mr. McMahon joining the crew of Charlotte and Theory and MJF, Roman, and Seth Rollins. Who else do we have? We also have a Jim Cornette. And
Ric Flair. We just got
we just got Ric Flair for our stuff. Who else? Who am I missing?
The Rock.
The Rock.
That's it.
That's an easy one.
What?
That's an easy one to forget.
We have Becky, but she got kicked out of the group because she's not a heel anymore, so she's not allowed to be in the group.
Seth's about to be out of the group.
Seth's about to be out of the group, but he's not really because the comic's literally called the heel support group with Max and Colby. So
we're not going to write Seth off.
We're not going to write Seth off. But yeah, follow me in the places, and yeah, that's. I'm trying to think of anything else important, and I got nothing. So yeah.
Well, good job, guys. I've got some shout outs this week, as I always do. You need to follow Katie Kinsey. Katie Kinsey, baby. Katie Wrestling 13.
Baby.
Baby. It's all about the boom. Follow Marie Shadows. Follow Bemmer Chatter. Follow Ravage Dragon. Follow Smackin' It Raw. That's MATTRIDDER. Matt Ritter. He's the host of the #1 podcast on Pornhub, Smackin' It Raw. You need to follow SES Vince. He's Vince at Daddy Delgado. You need to follow Self Bet Wrestling. You need to follow Dad Hat Wrestling. The Dad Trainer, Justin Bundy. Wrestling Fan for Life, Bree Stout, Husky Rhodes, 912, J Nose Wrestling, Brian's House of Fandom, and Dad 316. You should follow all my friends. But now, as we close another episode of Botched Bots and Share Shots, I want to take a minute and thank you for listening. Remind you to go wherever you do anything on the internet and like, subscribe, follow, unsubscribe, then subscribe again. Leave a comment telling me how great I am or how terrible we sound. Either way, it helps the algorithm. It helps find new listeners. If you're feeling really generous and be one of the VIP people, head over to Rivet City Radio and donate to the Rivet City Radio Podcast Network on Patreon.com. You get some fantastic swag. We get some fantastic guests. It's a win-win for the Yellow Shoe Guy. For the boss bitch, Miss Allison Siegel, I am the Will Gray.
Follow the Twitch account.
Follow the Twitch account, Rivet City Radio. That's kind of important.
Kind of.
Right now, yeah, we got to get this going. But thanks for stopping by and listening, my people.